Monumental day in the CFL. New field configurations, a modified Rouge.
This was for Canadians who adore our game and how we're going to make our game even more entertaining.
Are you concerned you will lose fans off of today's announcement?
I don't. I really don't.
New rule changes are garbage. Garbage.
Here's our Vancouver Bureau Chief, Farhan Lalji, joining us. And Farhan, I do want to get your thoughts on the rule changes and the field configuration that Stewart Johnson announced on Monday for the Canadian Football League. But you were in that scrum with Nathan Rourke when he said a lot of stuff that was pretty negative about the changes. What were you surprised, I guess, at what he had to say?
Yeah, I definitely was, and I did have a chance to speak to Nathan this evening for quite some time. And, you know, I think that this is not necessarily about the rule changes specifically. I think it's more about how it was done and a lack of consultation in the process. And I think one of the things with Nathan is that since he has come back to the Canadian Football League, he has gained such an appreciation for the game, because when he was in the NFL and the time he spent down there, he realized just how much fun he had playing in this game. And he doesn't necessarily want to lose the essence of this game. So today it's field configurations and it's moving of goalposts. And tomorrow maybe that means 4 downs and other things. And I think he's just got some concerns for how this happened, the fact that he thinks the game is really trending in a pretty good way, and just doesn't want to see those next steps where the essence of what is Canadian football could potentially be taken away.
You know, you've covered this game for a long time. In fact, you are a Media Wing Hall of Famer. I don't take that title lightly, and neither should you. What did you think about the changes that Stewart announced on Monday?
Yeah, I think it's positive, right? For the most part, I don't like the goalposts at the front of the end zone. Now, I think I am going to miss the long field goal returns. I'm certainly not going to miss the single points awarded for missed kicks that can't be returned. And so I think there's going to be some trade-offs. I do believe that it will open up portions of the end zone. You're shortening the end zone, so potentially that takes away offense. But the fact that there will be less worries about risks being taken in the middle of the end zone with the goalposts removed from there. I mean, just ask Cody Fajardo from a couple of years ago. You lose the Western Final on that play. I don't think those are good things for the league. So you change that, and then the other rule changes are a result of that change, shortening the end zones a bit. So, you know, the kick isn't 20 yards longer, it's only 15. Taking out 100 or taking out 10 yards from the middle of the field, now you're closer to the score zone. So all of those changes are connected. I know there's people that want to cherry pick certain changes. I just believe it's a whole package. I think it's a positive package. I think it makes the game a little more relatable for some that maybe don't watch it at this point. So, you know, I don't want to see a narrow field and 4 downs, but I do like some of these tweaks. I don't view them as massive changes. I think they're positive improvements.
And obviously, there are a lot of people who disagree with you, and I guess Nathan Rourke is one of them. You know, the talk about maybe stripping away too many things that make the CFL different from the NFL. Do you agree at all with that sentiment?
Look, I get why people are concerned, but what is the essence of what you deem Canadian football? Now, for me, when I watch the CFL game, I see a wider field. I see everybody in motion, and that just makes it look so different than the NFL, and the fact that it is 3 downs. So optically, when I look at that, that's what I see. And maybe some people view the returns and the special teams, which are really important to Nathan, as a bigger part of it. And I appreciate that. But for me, when I see the wider field, not necessarily a longer field, when I see a wider field, when I see all that motion, and when I see the emphasis on pass game, that's what I deem Canadian football. So for me, those staples that make it so unique are still there. Yes, there are some changes. We've seen changes previously. Coming out of COVID, they moved the hash marks. They changed where you began possession. All sorts of other subtle tweaks. And are these more significant moves? Sure, they are. But I think it's also going to make the game a lot easier to package. It's going to make it easier to televise. It'll open up additional promotional opportunities in end zone areas. You go to NFL stadiums, you see end zone field level suites, things of that nature. There are other things that it can bring to the game, which I think are positive.
Yeah, and Stu really talked about that very thing in his press conference on Monday. Another thing I didn't expect, Farhan, is the backlash from fans of high school football in this country and college football in this country who are concerned that in a way now we're going to be playing 2 different games, right? A game at the high school level because the goalposts are at the front of the end zone and maybe it's too expensive for schools to move them back to the end zone. And then there's the CFL game, which will obviously change over the course of the next couple of years. You coached high school for a long time out in the BC area. Like, what are your thoughts about those complaints?
Yeah, I get it, but I think all of this stuff is manageable. I don't know that it's going to happen immediately, but I could see a day when U Sports comes in line with what the CFL is doing going forward. Again, it might not be immediate, and quite honestly, to have a 150-yard length field, that's not easy in every municipality or every city across the country. Certainly, if you're in a much more dense urban setting like Vancouver or Montreal or Toronto, this may open up some more doors where you can put the game that's now 130 yards long instead of 150 yards long. It might open it up to different fields for it to be played on. In BC, we play U.S. high school rules, so you've already got different rules across the country. In certain parts of Ontario, you see a wider Canadian field, but you see it played with 4 downs. So these things are unique to different regions in the country, but ultimately, I think if these changes at the CFL level prove to be a positive, I could see amateur football at most levels across the country making similar changes.
I guess the good news is we're talking about Canadian football, and that's always a good thing. So thanks for talking with me, buddy. I really appreciate it. Love to get your perspective, and we'll chat with you soon.
It's always beats talking about preseason hockey.